I'm reading about bells because, to be honest, I'm so saddened that the great peal of bells in St Mary's Linton is not going to ring out tonight because the ringers can't ring from a social distance. And I feel the bells in heaven need to ring instead. But I thought I'd read you 2 bell passages. And the first is just the very quiet, melancholy sub-fusk, hearing the bells across the hills and through the drifts of snow on that first bereaved Christmas, when he can barely help think to rejoice, and yet something in the bells keeps him going. And I'll read this one for, well, I mean, you've lost people and so have I this year, and we'll think about that. And then I'm going to stand up for the final one. I'm going to read you a really rousing, one of the greatest passages of Tennyson ever. But here's, well, in this edition of 1850, it's section 28. The numbering changed a little bit later, but you'll find it soon enough. So it's his first Christmas after his terrible bereavement. The time draws near the birth of Christ. The moon is hid, the night is still. The Christmas bells from hill to hill answer each other in the mist. 4 voices of 4 hamlets round, from far and near, on mead and moor, swell out and fail, as if a door were shut between me and the sound. Each voice 4 changes on the wind, that now dilate and now decrease. Peace and goodwill, goodwill and peace, peace and goodwill to all mankind. This year I slept and woke with pain. I almost wished no more to wake, and that my hold on life would break before I heard those bells again. But they my troubled spirit rule, for they controlled me when a boy. They bring me sorrow, touched with joy, the merry, merry bells of Yule. Oh, such fine poetry. The way that now dilate and now decrease, peace and goodwill, goodwill and peace, the way the sound of the bells themselves is there. So that's less well known passage on bells from In Memoriam. But now I'm going to read you Ring Out Wild Bells. Let's stand together to do this. You can't read this poem sitting down. Hold a glass. This is one of the greats. Ring out wild bells to the wild sky, the flying cloud, the frosty light. The year is dying in the night. Ring out wild bells and let him die. Ring out the old. Ring in the new. Ring happy bells across the snow. The year is going. Let him go. Ring out the false. Ring in the true. Ring out the grief that saps the mind. For those that here we see no more. Ring out the feud of rich and poor. Ring in redress to all mankind. Ring out a slowly dying cause and ancient forms of party strife. Ring in the nobler modes of life with sweeter measures, purer laws. Ring out the want, the care, the sin, the faithless coldness of the times. Ring out my mournful rhymes. But ring the fuller minstrel in. Ring out false pride in place and blood, the civic slander and the spite. Ring in the love of truth and right. Ring in the common love of good. Ring out old shapes of foul disease. Ring out the narrowing lust of gold. Ring out the 1,000 wars of old. Ring in the 1,000 years of peace. Ring in the valiant man and free, the larger heart, the kindlier hand. Ring out the darkness from the land. Ring in the Christ which is to be. Happy New Year.